now I'd like to introduce the stars. We're going to steal from sponges. We're going to learn from Tim. We'll be learning from Doug. So please, gentlemen from College Place, with your affection and love for Milton-Freewater, share what you know.
I know a lot of places in the crowd. My name is Case and Tim Payne, our superintendent at College Place. I want to be really clear tonight. We're not here to tell you how to do this. We're here to tell you how we did it. It only took us 65 years. So I think you guys have a little bit better chance than we did. I can tell you right now, with the money I saw that you received in tonight, you've already taken in more than we did in what we had to use for the promotion of our bond. So we had to take a step back and we had to look at why we weren't successful in the last 10 or 12 years. And one of the things that I knew is that I really appreciated my superintendent. When superintendents are the driver of promoting a bond or a levy and they're unsuccessful, they don't stay in the community very long. They get moved on. That's just the way it works. Look at Walla, it just happened. So what we decided to do, myself and another fellow board member, Troy Fitzgerald, who's a pastor at Walla University and on our board, we decided to create a three-legged stool. Tim, Troy, and myself were the spokespersons for our bond committee. We just had one bond committee of about 24 people that were highly committed. That's not all the people that did the work, but that was the central committee. And any communication piece that we put out, Troy, Tim, and myself wrote it together, and they would edit my writing, and I'd go back and say, no, nobody knows what that word means. So I kind of drove them nuts sometimes. But we knew we had to do some things different, and not just for the sake of being different. We had a lot to gain and a lot more to lose. This was basically our last shot to attempt for a high school in College Place. Because we knew Walla was going to run a bond to do major construction at Y. So we were going broke. Tim, jump in any time. We want to do a lot of question and answer, but I think one of the things that we figured out is that we had to communicate our story, and we had to be in charge of our story. So in Washington, most school districts have levies, and they have had for a long time. Ours is about 27% of our operating budget. So we decided to build a larger group that we could use into the future to use for levy promotion. And I got to give kudos to Troy. He started up a Facebook page called Our Place, College Place. And I was hoping to show you it tonight. I can still show you the page, I can't show you the volume, but we made a video. Troy organized that. It's about 3.5 minutes long. It's really good. You can go to our Facebook page and look at it. It was just another avenue of communication. And that's really important to use every avenue to control your story. And got thoughts on that part as far as communication?
Yeah, I think the number of modalities and places you can meet. So one of the things that we did, I've been fortunate enough to do 4 bonds, and the 4th one passed in my 15 years at College Place. So I could talk about several things, but I think one of the things that really helped us pass our bond is we only held one meeting at the school, and we were meeting where people were. And so we actually met in the old Valley Chapel School out there, because that was where a lot of people were, and it related to them, and we didn't do anything. Those folks out there who had the key, they organized it. Lady showed up with a bunch of cookies. It was a great spread. I showed up at the end, and because I work for the community, and Doug works in agriculture, he says, if we need a suit and tie, we'll give you the nod. Otherwise, we got this. And so farmers talk to farmers. And then we went to a few other firehouses, and different people came. And then we went to school, and then we went to some churches, and we went to a little bit of everything, and different people came. So if you always go to the same place, and you always have the same people talking, you're always going to get the same answers and the same responses. So I would encourage you to hit as many different modalities and have as many different people speaking. It's been said a couple times here. It's true, Dr. Clark and I go back a long time. I don't look old enough to be a superintendent for 18 years, but I have been. But early in my career, when Dr. Clark and I were both up in North Central Washington area, you know, we talk about these things. We go to all those different places and whatnot, and people expect you and I to get up and talk. We just do. So we're not, in these situations, I hate to tell you this, we're not the most believable people. Right, we're not. Who's the most believable people? The people in that neighborhood. Those are the most believable people. So I appreciate those who just say, hey, we're going to visit with the senior citizen. The business person ought to talk to the business people. The farmer ought to talk to the farmer people because they say the same language, just like Doug was saying. Vocabulary is critical. Now I'm going to put my teacher hat on. Thank you, Lori. I love Lori, by the way. Got to know what she's like. So, anyway, vocabulary is critical. I sit up here and use 4-syllable words, and if I'm talking to those people, when I was talking at the university, yes, they needed me with my suit on and use 4-syllable words at the university. That was the appropriate way to communicate, and that's who they wanted to see. When we were writing different communications, Doug's absolutely correct. You know, he makes a joke out of it, but it was absolutely critical because he was saying it in language that people would understand. So, I do want to hit on something that I was asked to talk about, and you mentioned it in terms of real estate and whatnot. So, do realize that the bond is bigger than just the school. But everybody knows across the country, though, the school is the heart of every community. It's undeniable. Where do most people go? The school. Nobody gathers more consistently in any other place than a school. I will tell you that across the nation, the statistics are 90+%. I don't know what they are. It was like 92%. When we were doing ours, we explained to people that 92% of the time, when you run a bond, it has a positive impact on the community, both fiscally, both culturally, and all those types of things. Does that make sense? Because why? What happens is people see people willing to invest in kids. They see people willing to invest in the community at large. So in College Place, just speaking specifically, the city was new, right? New City Hall was new. Walla University just went into a new administrative building. It was new. And we had other things that were going on that was new. The oldest thing in town? The school, right? So I always had the city talking to me about, hey, we got to do something about this. You know, Pat Ray, he'd come to my office, or I'd come to his office, and he'd say, Tim, you're killing me. He says, we have businesses come to town, and they say, where are our employees' kids going to go to school? And they're like, and we don't see them again. That is the reality. When the bond's passed, now he's got things, he's got pictures of it, it's on their webpage, he's got people coming in, hey, you bet, let me show you. Real estate, booming in College Place. I'm telling you, we're full. Our schools are full. I don't accept an open enrollment kid today. Full. Boom, already. And we built for growth. And I'm telling you right now, they're building houses like crazy in College Place where it didn't happen. So guess what happens to the assessed value? I get fired up now.
I just want to make a point about this. This is something that I had never thought about because I grew up in a time where I went to school where I lived. We had families that haven't been able to get in because of open enrollment being closed. So they just moved. They just moved into our district, bought a house, and are living there. And now we got to take them.
That is true. One of the most frequent questions we get right now is open enrollment. Questions, a lot of them. And so people say, how do I guarantee to get into College Place schools? I'm just telling you, 5 years ago, that was not the question. It's not. It was not the question. I'm telling you the truth, it was not the question. Now it is. They tell them there's 2 ways to guarantee yourself in College Place schools. Move or work there. There's a state law to work for the school, your kids automatically get to go there. So it's happening. People are moving. The real estate's going goofy. I mean, and so our schools are in demand. So when I was asked to come and speak, I just want you to know, I'm just so community-minded. I love what's going on in Milton-Freewater. I'm excited, as you can tell. And so when I was invited, I'm like, yeah, hey, I'll show up. I told Randy, I'll show up anyway. I told Dr. Clark, hey, if you need me to talk to somebody, I'll show up. Because it is one of the single greatest things you can do for this community. Not just kids, not just teachers, although they are a direct benefit, but it will benefit your whole community. One of the things we want to do is spend our time answering questions as well. So I could stand up here and talk to you about whatever or however long. I'd be super excited for you.
If you have questions, just pepper us with them. And that's the easiest way to get some information. There's too much to share in another 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
What are the certain things you guys want to know that, and we're happy to come back. If there's something you just really want to know as you drive by, look at our schools or anything, I'd be happy to, I'm an open book, to ask and done as well.
Yeah.
I got a question. We talked about senior citizens being such a big group. What did you guys specifically do to target those people who are most unlikely to want to go and increase in taxes?
So I'll take that one. Has anybody pulled your 2010 census data? So if you haven't, you need it. Because you need to know what your community is comprised of for age and income and all that data, right? And even though it's 6 years old, is what you have. You can also go on the Port of Walla Walla's webpage, and I believe they may actually have Milton-Freewater's data through their website.
Realistically, there's our register right up there. That's so, and that is a pretty decent snapshot of the demographics, the age demographics of our community. So up top, the top federal, yeah.
So the thing we had to figure out, first of all, was, so we had a lot of things working against us. We're like 63% free and reduced lunch. So our families and our schools are poor. And so we have to think about that, but we're still paying taxes, right? And we have a huge retirement community. And then what else is in College Place? We have a huge Adventist community. And they have their own school system, right? And just because I had a pastor from the University Church on our board was not a lockstep. He also sat on their board.
So, Lori, a couple of key things. So, again, you have to have, I'll give you one example. So, Walt Meskey, you have to go find those people who are credible in that demographic. Because your demographic, Dr. Clark mirrors out of, right? Who's going to vote? You can guarantee they're going to vote every time, right? They're voting over 81% of the time. If you don't get these people to vote yes, because they're more apt to vote than the families who are going to use it. Just, I mean, the data is the data. Your data is exactly like ours. So you got to go find people that are credible within that demographic. Again, so for example, Walt Meskey, right? If you drive by Walla University, Meskey Hall. So you get Walt out there, and he's holding the sign. He's showing up talking to people. We also went into the ag place and found some folks. So when we met there at the Valley Chapel School, guess who spoke? Right? We had people in each of those demographics that were pillars, that were people that were believable, and let them tell their story. We didn't even give them anything to talk about. They supported it. We said, hey, go for it, because the vocabulary you use and the people you connect with, that's what's important. So that's how we targeted that. And what happens is, I don't know enough, but if you get enough people in those segments, they do, and they're the believable ones. And so that was a large strategy.
And one more thing to the older demographic is that they're still old school, right? Old school, okay? Well, so I hadn't been on Facebook ever. 2012, I joined Facebook. Told my kids, you'll never find me on Facebook. I had to eat those words. But we used the system that we had used a lot for our levy called Labels and Lists. It's a company. They'll pull your data for your school district, for your voters. You can get whatever public information that is out there off of their registered voter. A lot of times, their phone number, their address and stuff. We did direct mailers that the district could pay for that was factual. It couldn't promote the bond, but it could provide the facts. That was a customary thing. We do that every year in 2 newsletters, and as long as it was part of our newsletter, we could provide that, and the school district in our state is allowed to pay for that. then we got on the phones. And I mean, we spent nights on the phones. And we called everybody we could get through to, every phone number we had access to. And you know what? Just have some thick skin. Not everybody loves your project. And just move on. Don't take offense at it. And remember, not all no votes. Sometimes they don't all stay no. So don't disenfranchise your no voters because you don't know why they're no. We have some folks that wrote some really honest letters to us that I just can't afford it. I live on $900 a month. And I can appreciate that, right? And so you just have to use your words really careful. That's why the three of us, Tim and Troy and I, we locked up our communication thing tight. Nobody else was allowed to talk to the newspaper. Nobody else, our Facebook page was only 3 administrators. And whenever somebody caught one of us, whatever, it was the same message. You have to control your message.
Consistency, critical.
So
You can't have somebody saying one thing and somebody saying something else. There's something else? Is there a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Well, first of all, thank you for the schools. My heart is in Milton-Freewater, but my house is in College, right off Tremont, and it's a kind of convenient thing because my wife's from Walla, the other end of town, so we just settled in College West. Live by your old school. I love the new school. One of the things, though, that I've heard is that the technology portion of the school was a little bit behind after the school was built. Was there anything to that? I mean, is there something that we could learn from that? Because I've heard that from some teachers and different people that.
Okay, so did everybody hear the question about the technology? So one of the pillars of the new school was about up-to-date and current technology. If you look at some of the data, then people tend to write a check and vote yes on technology. Safety trumps technology, by the way. So you got to kind of know what people will vote for, and technology is one of them. So we built the state-of-the-art school district. The whole thing is state-of-the-art, from even some of the remodels, all now Cat 6 and Wi-Fi and fiber and ultra-short throw interactive boards, iPads, ITVs, and the list goes on and on. And we have a infrastructure that's one of the top you can have. I forget the name of it all of a sudden, but it's smoking fast. So it does the whole thing. So what people were referencing is trying to get the construction company to make sure all that works. And so there was some frustration in, does that work, and did you test it? And so we were flying a plane and building it at the same time. So as fast as we could get into a building, we were doing it. And so did it all work, and did it all get tested out? And so there is some frustration, and I just had a conversation about it, as a matter of fact, yesterday. Although the list is getting shorter, we were so committed to technology that I hired an educational technologist. That's all he does. You know, Dennis DeBrock, maybe you may, you know, Randy does, but he's just the best of the best. And so we're committed to it, so committed to it that we have him. And his whole job is to make sure the millions that we spend in technology actually gets used in the classroom. Now you're really going to be fired up about this. Because you know what? It's about instruction and learning. And so when that technology doesn't work, I get torqued. Doug had listened to this yesterday. He told the project manager, what do you do to him? I just try to keep you relaxed all week long, and you get all fired up in here. Because that's the deal. We want to transform instruction. If you don't know, the kids that are sitting in those classrooms, their brains are digital. Okay? It's just the way it is. Why does a 2-year-old start trying to hit the TV? They want them to do something. Their brains are digital. And the instruction doesn't begin to reflect that. And in College Place, part of it though, we have analog and digital because it's still both there. So we have dry erase boards with ultra short throw interactive projectors on them, and we just want it to work for instruction in kids.
So I love Tim. I'm going to give you the short answer. Yeah, we've had trouble. And when you pass your bond, you'll have trouble too. And you just work through it. It's technology. I can't make speakers work here tonight. So don't miss the small stuff though. You guys got a good group of folks going already. What I don't know, are you all coordinated? If I'm just asking a question, I don't expect an answer. Are you all coordinated? Is this group coordinated with the school, with whoever else? I don't know. I'm just asking that question. So that's really important so that you have one message. We also involve kids. We involve kids heavily. And they went door to door. So I'm going back to the old school. We did door hangers, okay? You have to use every single method of communication, and nothing is too crazy. The telephone stuff may sound a little crazy, but you know what? People told us, yeah, you know what, we weren't going to vote for your deal unless you called me. And I'm like, so we got to have a super majority. I don't know what you have to have here. You have to have a simple
50% plus one.
Okay, you guys are so fortunate. We had to have a super majority to pass our bond.
So let me give a thing about the phone call, just a tidbit. So you got a phone call early, right? So you got to know you got to identify your yes voter. One of the reasons you do phone calling too is when you're cold calling someone, you got to find out that you have to have a list. That list that he talked about, we had people keeping track on the list.
And Randy has ours. He has a copy of ours.
And so what you do early on, right, is you call and you find out. And then as the bond gets closer, you only call your yes voter. You don't, once you get down the line, those checks are getting, try to spend 0 on a no vote when you get close. So early on, you're finding out you're yes voters. You're knocking on doors, you're phone calling people, you're talking to them, and you're keeping a list. That's the coordination piece Doug was talking about. When you get closer, and you guys can decide what closer is, you just spend all your time and effort on making sure the yes voter votes. And if you know somebody who's a no voter, like Doug was talking about, we did tell somebody, he said, hey, I can't afford everything, hey, don't vote. If your conscience says you can't, don't vote, because that raises your 50%, right? And we actually had some people say, okay, I can do that, because my conscience says I can't. But they don't realize by they're not putting in a no vote, that is against your yes vote percentage. So if you have that relationship, right, there's certain people I couldn't say, well, hey, she don't vote. Doug would go over and say, well, she don't vote, and then I would accept it. That's it.
Is there any more questions?
It sounds goofy, but it's actually.
The only thing that I kind of want to piggyback on a place where I thought Doug was going to go and it stopped a little too soon for me, and that is that he's old school, I'm old school, but the one thing that's different about this, and we talked about, used to, no matter where you live, you went to school where you live. Nowadays, there are online academies, there are choice. Tim referenced open enrollment. Now realistically, you can't live in Milton-Freewater and go to school in College Place. However, you can live in College Place, go to school in Walla Walla, go to school in Toushie. You can live in Milton-Freewater and go to school in Sales, Walla Walla, in Walla Walla Valley Academy. You can go online. Students can go wherever they want to go, more so than ever before. So we have to meet competition.
College Place, when we first started doing the bond, we were the largest impacted school in the state by people making other choices between private school, digital, and homeschool. Nobody in the state of Washington was greater impacted per student than College Place. Right? Because we have DeSales, we have Lava, and we have Rogers, and we have Liberty Christian, and we have a large homeschool group, and we have a large digital school. So by the data, we do that, and then talks about the data, and what you're talking about, we were the largest impacted in the state of Washington, over 50 had. And so, and now that's all changing.
I can't emphasize enough coordination. So we had, said about 20 hardcore people. We had one lady who used to be a copy editor. She took over all the letters to the editor. Got her email address, and everybody who wanted to write a letter to the editor could send it to her. She would just proof it for grammar and stuff for them. She got a relationship with the editor, the letter to the editor at the UV, Rick Esco. And he said, don't flood me with letters, lead them in to me and I'll get them all in. So she sent 2 or 3 a week, and they all got in. That doesn't mean he stopped other people's letters, but she had a system and she coordinated things so that they do that. That was really valuable. I don't know what you guys think about people reading the newspaper. This valley, I think, still does read the newspaper.
Is that big over here too, the newspaper?
Whether it's the newspaper or online, right?
So let me give give you a strategy again, below what Doug just gave. I'll give you a strategy. We'll assume everybody hears the yes vote when I say this. Okay? There's certain people who, if their letter is in the newspaper, has more impact than others. Agree? Some of those people don't want to write a letter. However, if someone were to write it for them, and put it into an email and then hit send, so this gal did that. They found out there were people who were like, hey, I'm willing to do it, but I'm not good with words, I'm not good at writing. Well, hey, what would you like to say? And so there were some things set up that way. And then they did it for them, sat down with them at their computer or went online, their online account, right? No matter wherever they wanted to meet them at. Did it for them, boom, kicked it in.
I'd like to talk on that for 1 second. I've asked Susan Dorman, if she'd raise her hand. And please don't tell anyone that we're orchestrating a letter writing campaign. No one can know that Susan, Judy Chestnut, and one other yet to be identified as a subcommittee, and Carol's agreed to do it. Okay, and they've been given 7 talking points, and they've been given a list of 20 names. If you would like to write a letter, or if you'd like to have them help you write a letter, talk to Susan at the end of the night, and she'll be doing just exactly what Tim is talking about.
So I want to bring a couple up for this. The other thing for whoever the leadership is running the deal as far as the promotion part, don't make any promises you can't keep. We made 2. We weren't going to buy land, right? That was a big deal in our community because it had been part of all the other 3. Yeah, I'm saying. And that was a big deal. Everybody's like, use what you have. Don't you have enough? Right? I can think what the second one is now. But that was all. Oh, yes. No Taj Mahal. Okay? And so don't be all about being fancy. Be about being practical and make this thing work and build it well. And when you pass your bond, and you guys will pass your bond, and you have to start talking like that, right? And you have to fight off the negative speak, right? Sometimes people are just trash talking. If they go off on Facebook, leave them alone. It's not worth your effort. Stick to your message. Stick to who you are as a community, the positiveness, and just forget about that other stuff, okay? When it's factual stuff, that's okay to go after, but don't go after somebody individually. Just make a statement to your community. Act like you're speaking to your community every time you speak, whether they're a yes vote or a no vote. But be very cautious about the promises, because I can almost guarantee you this. What's on those boards there will not be your finished product, because it wasn't in our case. Things come up that you can't foresee today, and something will change a little bit. It may not be a big deal, but it'll change a little bit. So you just have to be cautious in that area, because that's the thing that will hang you in the future. You may pass this bond, but what about in 8 years when you need some other special levy or something else? And they're going like, oh, you weren't truthful with us last time, we're not doing it.
Case in point, we told somebody, I just said, they said, how many seats you can put in the gym? If you don't know it, don't mess up with gyms, right? Nope. In terms of the building, where do people gather the most? The gym. It's just the way it is. So, you gotta be careful what you say about a gym. So just in passing, I said, yeah, we're at about 1,000 seats in the gym. Had somebody count them. So what he's talking about, they will actually do that. Somebody wanted to go in there,